Welcome to the Inject Creativity Live Show. My name is Rob the Robot from the Adobe Education team. This is a free online show for primary, secondary and post-secondary educators interested in enhancing digital literacy, communication and creativity in the teaching and learning process. Here are your hosts, Dr. Tim Kitchen and Aaron Raithke.
Thanks, Rob. Welcome to Inject Creativity Live, a show aimed at empowering the next generation to be lifelong digital creators with the help of Adobe tools. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, Tim, and a special welcome to this post-Adobe Max 2022 episode. So a special welcome to all who've joined us live via the Adobe for Education YouTube channel or the Australasian Adobe for Education Facebook group. For this, the 82nd episode of Inject Creativity Live, being recorded in October of 2022.
For those of you who are with us live, we do encourage you to say hi in the chat, share where you're from, and add comments throughout the show.
We have Tim Cosgrove from Canada in the background monitoring the chat, and he will share the most relevant comments as they come in.
Well, let's start this episode with an acknowledgement of country. We respect and honour all Indigenous people from the lands we reach out to during this event. We acknowledge their stories, traditions and living cultures. We acknowledge them as the first educators and the first creatives, and we commit to building a brighter future together. I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri land in the Kulin Nation, otherwise known as Melbourne, Victoria, Australia.
And I'm coming to you from the country of the Jagera, Yugara and Agurapul people from the area otherwise known as Brisbane, Queensland, Australia.
Let's welcome our techie whiz and Adobe Senior Customer Success Manager, Jerry Wong, to the stage. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, everyone. I'm coming to you from the home of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, otherwise known as Sydney, New South Wales. Now, during this special post-Adobe Max episode, we have Adobe's 3D guru, Alwyn Hunt, joining us as a special guest.
We do hope you enjoyed this session.
And if you do, please share it with your colleagues and wider education networks via the Adobe for Education YouTube channel.
You're watching Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Aaron Raithke.
Well, let's welcome Alwyn Hunt to the stage. Alwyn is part of the exciting 3D development team at Adobe, and he'll be sharing part one of two sessions with us on 3D and Adobe in education. The second part will be in our next episode.
So welcome, Alwyn. Please tell us a bit about your role at Adobe.
Hi guys, how are you going? The title says it there. Actually, it's a bit of a mouthful. Adobe 3D Business Development Territory Manager ANZ. My role is really just about promoting the 3D message. So I'm looking forward to sharing some more information about what come out of Max.
Now, did I notice, Aaron, we've got someone from Sweden with us on this particular episode? I think I saw a banner and a Swedish flag.
Yes, the last trumpet, Sweden.
There we go. Well, welcome.
Is fabulous.
I think
welcome. I don't think we've actually had anyone from Sweden on the show before.
That's great. We've got people from all over the world here, which is just wonderful. Now, speaking of all over the world, last week was Adobe Max, and it was literally all over the world. 6,000 people in Los Angeles for the first time back face-to-face, but then potentially millions of people watching the content from Sweden and everywhere around the world. How good was Adobe Max last week?
That is absolutely fabulous. And let's take this opportunity to check out a highlight reel for day one of Adobe Max.
Let's have a look at it. Actually, before we do, Aaron, could you tell us, for those who don't know about Adobe Max, exactly what it actually is?
Well, it is Adobe's biggest event. And as Tim mentioned, there are, thousands of people who watch it live in Los Angeles this year is where it was hosted, and, potentially millions online. And like me, if you were working during the day, what they do is if you go to max.adobe.com and you register, you can actually watch the sessions back that we're about to feature here in this reel, so that you can get a part of the action, even if you weren't able to join live.
And of course, it's where we feature new features of current apps or brand new features. Anyway, this highlight reel of day one will tell you a little bit more.
It is so great to be back in person after 3 years for our 20th Max. Thank you.
We're living at a time where content and creativity and design has never been more valued.
Photoshop, you can get rid of a distracting object just by clicking on it and hitting delete. Whenever you see share in the top right corner of your application, you now have actually two great options at your fingertips.
Happy to be back here at Adobe Max 2022.
The world is truly your canvas, and my ask of you is to keep dreaming bigger.
Welcome to Adobe Max 2022.
Well, we're going to bring Jerry up onto the stage with us for a very special reason. Jerry's actually been to Adobe Max 3 times. I've been once, and it was an incredible highlight. Elwyn, you haven't actually been there yet yourself physically.
Not yet, no. I'm like we said before the start of the show, I'm really looking forward to next year. Actually, I'm going to make it my mission to try and get there. So yeah, not yet.
And of course, Erin, you haven't had the opportunity.
Oh, yet. I'm going to put a big asterisk with yet. It is absolutely on my list of creative expos that I would love to be a part of.
Sort of like the Mecca for creatives from around the world in that sense. Jerry, just very quickly from you, what's it actually like being at Adobe Max physically?
Well, that's really hard to describe, but the energy and seeing all these people and everything that they bring to the event, it's truly amazing. So if you haven't been, Erin and Alwyn, you guys really got to put this on your bucket list.
You can feel the positivity and the really great collaborative vibe coming through, even just watching the broadcasts online. It's such a, sometimes you watch things and you just they make you feel good watching them. You can really see how passionate, dedicated and enthusiastic everybody is about the work that they're doing and how keen they are to share things that sometimes they've had to keep their lips zipped about for a while ahead of the release announcements that come through at Max.
Well, a couple of days ago, I posted my highlights of Adobe Max on timkitchen.net. If you go to timkitchen.net, you'll notice it's not the most recent story because I posted another story about a school visit that I had yesterday or the day before, whatever the day was. But if you go past that story, and then you'll see the Adobe Max highlights from my opinion. And one of the things that happens at the start of all the Maxes that I've ever seen is our CEO, Adobe CEO, Shantanu Narayan, will come up and he'll do a quick welcome keynote presentation. And it's always a bit of a highlight. This, as he announced, is our 40th anniversary, and it's 25 years since he's been in charge of the company. And there was a lovely slide that he had here looking at the history of Adobe. Elwyn, 40 years. When did you first connect with Adobe yourself?
I'm not giving that away. I will say how small he looks in front of that screen, though. That was always, when I was watching the presentations last week, just how gargantuan that screen is.
Yeah, they remind me of the volumes, don't they, that they use for
right? Yeah. Virtual production stages. But I can only imagine what it must have felt like to be standing there looking at all those thousands of people staring at you as well. So Adobe I've been with for a few years now, but before that I was with the Substance team. So it's probably about 4 or 5 years, but nowhere near as many as he has.
And what about actually connecting with Adobe as a company in terms of using the software? When did you first start using Photoshop, for instance?
Yeah, so I was a pretty early Photoshop user. I think, I sort of came from a traditional arts background and got into photography and then, photo manipulation. So sort of early days. And I had a whole another career even before that. So I won't go into that. But yeah, pretty early on, actually, Dreamweaver, Flash, all the sort of the old tools that were around and available at the time.
And looking at this picture now, you can see from 1982, when we were very much just trying to get PostScript and became a print solution, and then acquiring Macromedia soon after that, into the 1990s. You can see Acrobat's flying as a product into the 2000s with Flash. And then 2013 was the year that the Creative Cloud took over from the Creative Suite. So you've got the whole history of Adobe in that one slide. And Jerry, I'm sure you're probably thinking the same thing as I am. That screen that we're looking at there, the maxes that you've been to and I've been to, that's only a third of the actual stage, because back in those days we had up to 15,000 rather than 6,000. So
yes, there's literally about probably 3 of these screens lined up across the whole stage. So there's a bit of a long walk from one end to the other. So he's like right now, Shantanu is probably standing right in the middle of the center screen. So imagine that. That's how wide it is, and that's how big the room is.
Massive.
So Shantanu was celebrating the fact that he's been in charge for 25 years and he's done an amazing job to build the company over that time. And then Scott Belsky, who is Adobe's Chief Product Officer and Executive Vice President for Creative Cloud, he led the rest of the keynote pretty much, hosting all of these new features that are coming out of different products. And he did it through 3 different phases. We talked about precision and superpowers being our professional tools. Speed, it should be a double E there. I'll have to fix that typo later. Speed and ease, talking about Adobe Express and some new announcements, which we'll touch on in a minute. And collaborative creativity, where there's a lot of new sharing collaborative features. Let's just have a quick look at some of the new things that have come out through Adobe Max. And what we're looking at now are the video tools. Erin, anything come to you as a bit of a highlight from our video tools?
While I was watching the keynote, I was taking notes of all of the things that I was getting really excited about. And one of the things that jumped out at me was because of my work that I've done with TAFE Queensland, being able to send videos out for review would be a massive help to workflow. Especially when you've got lots of stakeholders, wonderful teams like marketing that have to be, very on brand all the time. So to make things that are instructional for students, but also need to be on brand, but also need to obviously go to, places like legal teams and that kind of thing, to be able to flick things out to people using, Premiere Pro and Frame.io, and then to be able to get that feedback back, like on the dot where they're talking about, rather than just a general email with a timestamp code that may or may not be relative to whichever version they happen to have looked at. Game changing when it comes to video production in an organization.
So a lot of what you're talking about there is the new Frame.io collaboration that we've got with our video tools, which was fantastic to hear about. We got a teaser of it last year at Adobe Max, and now we've got a lot more information about it. And look at all the different new features within Premiere Pro, After Effects, Character Animator, and Adobe Media Encoder. So many great new features. One of the ones I've been using a lot recently is the remixing audio. Elwyn, have you come across that one before?
No, I've seen a few of the team use it, and it looks amazing. It just, I remember back in the day, trying to do fade in, fade out, and trying to get the timing based on the video, and it was an absolute nightmare. And being able to use that, and it can, saves a lot of time.
Yeah, and Roland from Manila in the Philippines has joined us live, and he's saying, loving Project Blink, saves me a lot of time in searching my content. So that'll be worth looking up too. I'm not sure if that's still in beta mode yet. He's also complementing the Remix tool, and it's using a lot of artificial intelligence to make things a little bit quicker and easier for the user. And we're finding there's a bit of a theme. The artificial intelligence engine, we call it mental blank. What do we call it, Jerry? We call it Sensei.
Sensei.
I should know that. Mental blank just at the moment.
That's why you probably live. Yeah.
Which is great. And there's so many great features now. Let's keep going through. Photoshop. We talked about Photoshop on the desktop and then Photoshop on the web. And we can see all the new features that are available on Photoshop on the desktop. Any standout to you, Erin?
Well, one of the things that went across Premiere Pro as well as into Photoshop was being able, like the content-aware deletion of objects. kind of blew my so my baby was asleep on my lap while I was watching the keynote and sneaks and things, and so I was getting physically excited but also trying not to move and bounce too much, so my husband's just watching me boiling like a tea kettle with like little bits of steam coming out of my ears as they're announcing all of these amazing features. The sky replacement, obviously, if you've been using the Photoshop apps on iOS for a while, you would have seen that before. But things like the depth blur and being able to make portraits jump out more because it actually intelligently detects the background is so useful, because trying to like pick around hair and that kind of thing is so time consuming, and just getting that content aware fill and background detection and subject detection and object detection is just going to make these programs so much more accessible for people from an entry level, which is often part of what stops people from trying out more sophisticated programs, is they think there's going to be a huge learning curve, whereas this is just going to make it so much easier for people to get on board.
Very true. As we keep scrolling through here, we talked about Photoshop on the web. This is very much great for those of you who are Chromebook users, because you just can't use Photoshop on a Chromebook, but now you can with Photoshop on the web, which is still very much in beta form, but has a lot of great features and well worth looking at. Lightroom, lots of new features in Lightroom for those of you who are photographers out there. After Effects, some new features there, incorporating a bit of Adobe Sensei. InDesign, I loved the text wrap around an object feature. You can see that with the little squirrel or a chipmunk or whatever that is there. You can see automatically it's wrapping the text around.
You can adjust the border around it as well. If it's a bit too tight, you can just like zoop, and it makes it so good.
And of course, the new sharing and collaborating via HTML features that appears in not just InDesign, but a lot of our products now, just to help with the collaboration process.
Absolutely.
This was pretty cool in Illustrator, the intertwine feature.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
So amazing. Like, was anyone else just like really impressed and entertained by how you just like use the lasso and you just roughly sketch around it, and it quite literally looks at what you've said and goes, they actually meant this, and then just tightens up the edges. So good.
It's really cool. And then, of course, one of our favorite applications within the education world is Adobe Express. And there was announced some wonderful new features that will be coming out early next year, it sounds like. In fact, I'm going to play a little clip to you, and we're going to hear from Scott Belsky talking exactly about some of these new features to come with Adobe Express.
So in the coming year, you're going to start seeing Express in more places across the web. Integrations, wherever you want to edit an image or a video or insert your brand or access the creative power of Adobe Express inline. And one of those integrations we're announcing today is with Wix, the cloud-based website development platform. So through a seamless integration between Express and Wix, users will be able to edit any media on their websites, including adding effects, animation, and more. And this is really just the first of many partnerships where we're trying to bring creativity wherever you need it on the web with Express. Now, what you saw in Paul's demo is really just the beginning. Express is evolving super fast, and based on your feedback, we have a lot more that's coming in the pipeline. Let me just give you a quick glimpse of the future so you see what is in store. So Express is going to become the world's most agile multimedia editor. You're going to be able to edit video, text, animations, audio, images, vectors, whatever you need for an inventive and engaging social media post. And this really outfits you to create in all major formats for all the key social platforms more quickly than ever before. And there's no need to do everything yourself. We are bringing real-time multiplayer collaboration to Express. So, you and your friends or coworkers can just create together and always see what each other are up to. It's really the perfect solution for every shared project. Express has dozens of great editing tools, but sometimes you're just going to want to go further in a product like Photoshop or other Creative Cloud apps to really make your project stand out. Well, no problem. Seamlessly open your project in another app like Photoshop, make your edits, and then just as easily open it back in Express. We are building Express and all of our products to work together without friction, so you always have this choice. We're also bringing new AI superpowers to Express, including the ability to generate a background or an object in your scene just by describing it. And we are delivering breakthrough technology to get this. Create a unique font with the power of generative AI. So you start, yeah, it's pretty cool. You start with any Adobe font, and then you give Express a suggestion, like electric cables, or I don't know, orchid petals. And then Express will generate a one-of-a-kind font that matches your scene perfectly. I mean, right?
How cool is that? I'm so looking forward to when that all becomes a reality and we can share it with teachers and students all over the world. Now, of course, the end of the keynote was focused and dedicated on the 3D side of Adobe Max. And there's quite a focus on Adobe Substance throughout Adobe Max. Elwin, tell us more about Substance and what we can look forward to working with as Adobe goes full steam into the world of 3D design. Over to you, Elwin.
Cheers. Yeah, I think, it's there's common themes throughout. And, when we look back, we sort of see, collaboration, AI, and ease of use with the tools. And I think that's a common theme with all the Adobe applications. And they really want to be able to bring that through to the 3D applications as well. So some of the big announcements for Max around the 3D applications was the release of 3D Modeler, which is super, super exciting because it's our first step really into the modeling side of things, and the whole idea of building out a solution that is easy to use and being able to transfer assets from one application through to another. So And when I think about that from a student's perspective, being able to be able to pick these applications up and have the familiarity of some of the other Adobe applications and go, oh, that looks like Photoshop or Illustrator or something else. It's got a similar sort of feel and look to it. Then all of a sudden these sort of hurdles for learning and adoption become less and less. So the modeling application that I've been playing around with is super fun, super easy to use. So I'm just going to jump onto here and just go back onto the main Max website, because I just wanted to quickly highlight a couple of things. If you didn't see the sneaks, well worth jumping. I'm just on the main Adobe Max website here. If you didn't see the sneaks, watch them. It's super funny. Kevin Hart's on there hosting it, but just looking at future technology is amazing. And it's sort of even some of the stuff that you were showing there, Tim, it's an extension of that sort of technology, which is super interesting. The other cool thing is that this is all on demand. So all the sessions are available. So you can, if you are just interested in the 3D and AR side of things, then you can go to virtual sessions. If I scroll down a little bit as well, there's some, you can find the Substance 3D modeler, somebody that's using it from the community. So you can really filter down and be able to find out sort of really relevant information, or I guess learning content as well. Actually, just scrolling down a little bit further, because I noticed even from a teacher's perspective, there's some really great talks from lecturers and teachers from all around the world talking about how they're able to incorporate some of the Adobe products and into the classroom and be able to showcase that stuff. So the next area, this was one of the sessions that I was a moderator on, actually, and this is a local guy here in Melbourne, Pablo Gomez, and he did a sort of a walkthrough of how to make this little character. It was super easy. Again, you can follow through. There is notes on how he did it, so the session notes, etc. It talks about the programs that he used. You can go back, watch that, and be able to have that sort of asset as a final project as well. The other thing I wanted to bring up again was just to highlight the education licenses that are now free for students and teachers. So if you're a teacher or a student enrolled in higher education, unfortunately it's not available for K-12 yet. There is a timeline on that, and I can't. There's no fixed date, but it's not far away. So for higher education students and teachers, you're able to download any of the applications. You just have to go through this form, add your details, and be able to then qualify to be able to download these applications. So Modeler, like I said, now is available. It's out of beta. It's been released. They need to update that. I'll have to tell them about that. So that's super exciting. And as part of that announcement, we also, on the Rookies platform, the rookies.co, we released a contest or that to help celebrate and promote the education licenses. And this platform is only for students, so higher education, and students that are currently studying. All the content on here is from students all around the world that is creating CG, and you can filter based on the different filter based on the different contests. But this contest here, I just wanted to put some light on. So this is the one that it's open for submissions now. It's you can use the Substance programs to be able to create your robot. There's some tutorials. It's really about creating something fun and unique. You can just have a look at some of the entries now. People are creating some really cool little things using the Substance programs, and there's some amazing prizes, some cool judges looking at your work. Anybody from around the world can enter into this. You just go to the rookies.co and find that contest up the top here. If you're completely new to Substance and you've got no idea what I'm talking about right now, then there is help. There is also a page here, substance3d.adobe.com tutorials. You will find all these links on the main Adobe page. And in here, again, you can filter based on what your experience is, what sort of software you're interested in. If it's 3D modeler, then you can quickly filter based on that. There is a fantastic new series that that came out last week, and these are for fundamentals and foundational skills in 3D modelers. So you can go through and watch those series, and they're only short, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, the short little videos that explains the program and how it works. And for those people that don't know how it works, it's essentially a 3D modeling application that you can sculpt on your desktop, but you can also use it on your VR headset. So you can connect it all up and change. So maybe I'm modeling something on the desktop, and then I want to be able to carry on modeling that in a VR. Then it's exchangeable, and you're able to do that very, very easily. And then the last place I just kind of wanted to point out as well was the Adobe Asia Pacific YouTube channel. You'll find a lot of great content from Max APAC region. There's some great content in here. You can sort through the various playlists as well. If you're looking for, the VR, AR stuff, then again, this is a great source. There's one from me actually a few months ago. Great source of reference and resource to be able to access this content. And there's Pablo, actually. He did one where he created a cute little robot. So you can watch that series and be able to then enter into the Rookies robot contest, which is super fun. For the next session, I'm going to actually take you through what those programs look like and how we can show creating a 3D object, then using, and I'll just take you back through to this one actually. So creating something in Modeler, then moving it across into Painter, using Sampler to be able to create materials and just really show the workflow of how they all work together. I think people can get confused about, what application do I use for this for this. So I want to be able to just demystify that and show how that works. And I think that's about it. There is, like I said, there is a truckload of content from this year's Max. Get in there. Lots of learnings. Even I've learned some amazing stuff. And I think, the collaboration, when we look forward with the 3D stuff, even being able to collaborate now in, the likes of Photoshop and Illustrator, think of that in the future, but in a 3D space. How are people able to collaborate when you're actually modeling, texturing, and in that 3D space, and what that program could possibly look like. So really excited to, see some of the new releases for the end of the year, and also next year what we've got coming out. So
exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. Elwyn, thank you so much. And we're going to, just to let Erin and Jerry know, we're going to skip through to the Teach Meets or the Facebook promo. So, Jerry, would you mind finding the Adobe Teach Meets slide? And just want to bring that up there because we do have a Teach Meets session coming up that I want to let everyone know about. But we're going to have to wind up this episode because our next presenter is only with us for a short period of time. So we're going to kick off with him very soon in the next episode. Elwyn, thank you so much for your time. And Elwyn, one of these days you might even get the honor of being one of our presenters at a Teach Meet. You never know your luck.
I'd love to. You know, I didn't say at the top of the show, but with I'm moving into more of an educational role. So actually, just quickly at the end of that, the keynote video, that the sneak that you showed at the front, there was the group of students that were going, yeah, and all the rest of it. That was actually a workshop that we ran in Arts Centre in LA. So I'm actually working on doing partnerships with higher education facilities to actually showcase students working in substance. So yeah, I'd love to hear from any schools out there that are interested in doing those sorts of partnerships.
That is awesome, Elwyn. And just quickly, I shot the links into the chat, the YouTube chat that Alan was going through during his presentation, and Tim Cosgrove has been kindly popping those up on the screen for you. So if you need those links, either check out my Twitter for the summary, where I will pop all of the links underneath my notes from Alan's presentation, or go to our YouTube channel and watch the broadcast back.
All right,
Brilliant.
We're going to skip a few things now, folks. We're just going to take it straight to the very end, and I want to bring everyone up onto the screen to do our farewell. So let's get rid of that, and let's bring Tim Cosgrove, who's been helping us in the background, and Jerry has also been helping us in the background. Elwyn, any closing words of wisdom from you?
Oh, God, my closing words are, you know, don't let 3D scare you. Like, it is now, you know, at a point where it's really accessible. So get involved.
Excellent. Now, those of you who have joined us live, please stay on for the recording of the next episode with special guest Drew Mayhills, as well as part 2 of Elwyn Hunt's substance presentation. And then we're going to have a fireside chat after that as well.
So our next recording session for Inject Creativity Live won't be until Wednesday, the 23rd of November, and this event will feature a demo by Ali Blackwell and Eden Carey from Western Australia.
Let's have a quick look at them. Jerry, if we can bring up, there we go. There's the 2 lovely ladies who will be joining us for that next episode. Look, thank you, Erin. Thank you, Jerry, for helping me put this show together. And special thanks to Adobe Education Leader Tim Cosgrove. Give us a wave, Tim, all the way from Canada, where it's the middle of the night, and yet he's still dedicated to help us with monitoring the chat, which is just wonderful.
We appreciate you, and you can view past episodes of Inject Creativity Live, as well as a new set of 30-minute Adobe Education webinars by Dr. Tim Kitchen at Adobe for Education YouTube channel. That's adobe.ly/ICL-playlist.
We'll say goodbye now. See you later, folks. And Rob's going to just wind us up. Give us a wave, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you for watching this episode of Inject Creativity Live. If you are not watching this live, join us live next time. Use this QR code or link to find out about dates and topics. And use this QR code and link to find out about other Adobe in Education professional learning opportunities. On behalf of the Adobe in Education team, keep being creative. Welcome to the Inject Creativity Live Show. My name is Rob the Robot from the Adobe Education team. This is a free online show for primary, secondary and post-secondary educators interested in enhancing digital literacy, communication and creativity in the teaching and learning process. Here are your hosts, Dr. Tim Kitchen and Erin Rathke.
Thank you, Rob, and welcome to Inject Creativity Live, a show aimed to empower the next generation to be lifelong digital creators with the help of Adobe tools. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, Tim, and welcome to everyone who's continued to join us live and those watching on demand via the Adobe for Education YouTube channel or the Australasian Adobe for Education Facebook group for this, the 83rd episode of Inject Creativity Live. We are recording this episode in October of 2022.
For those of you who are with us live, we do encourage you to say hi in the chat and share where you're from and add comments throughout the show.
So we have the wonderful Tim Cosgrove from Canada in the background monitoring the chat, and he will share the most relevant comments as they come in.
Let's start this episode properly with an acknowledgement of country. We respect and honour all Indigenous people from the lands we reach out to during this event. We acknowledge their stories, traditions and living cultures. We acknowledge them as the first educators and the first creatives, and we commit to building a brighter future together. Well, I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri land in the Kulin Nation, otherwise known as Melbourne, Victoria, Australia.
And I'm coming to you from the country of the Jagera, Yugara and Ngurukul people from around the area, otherwise known as Brisbane, Queensland, Australia.
Let's welcome our techie whiz and Adobe Senior Customer Success Manager, Jerry Wong, to the stage. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, everyone. I'm coming to you from the home of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, otherwise known as Sydney, New South Wales. During this episode, we have Adobe Education Leader Drew Mayhill from Western Australia, as well as Adobe 3D Guru Alwyn Hunt.
We'll also be sharing a number of Adobe-related education resources and professional learning opportunities for you to take back to your schools, universities, and other places of learning.
We do hope you enjoy this session.
And if you do, please share it with your colleagues and wider education networks via the Adobe for Education YouTube channel.
You're watching Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raithke.
All right, let's bring up our special guests and let's meet Drew Mayhills and Alwyn Hunt. We bring them up. Here we go. Drew's now with us. G'day, Drew. How you going?
Hi, everyone. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
And welcome back again.
There we go. So, Drew,
oh no, the canned applause.
Share a bit about your teaching background and what you're doing these days.
So I've had an association with Adobe through AEL, the Adobe Education Leader Program, for I think near on 10 years now, which gives you some clues to my age, but I won't ask the audience to guess via the comments. I started out as an English teacher in a secondary school, and just have always been interested in the intersection between creativity, technology, and education. So I continue to use the Adobe tools in a range of teaching and learning contexts. And through a series of different promotional positions, that led me to winning my current role, which is Director of Hothouse Company at All Saints College. And so that, in a nutshell, is about overseeing unique creative projects across the arts disciplines, a significant number of which in the media and digital space rely heavily on the beautiful stuff that Adobe's putting out. And I'll talk a bit about that in a moment.
Alwyn, we enjoyed hearing from you in our last post-Adobe Max episode. For those who missed that show, tell us about your role at Adobe.
Yeah, my current role is a 3D business developer here in ANZ. So I basically promote the 3D application tools to pretty much anybody, whether it's enterprise customers, education partners, whoever it is. So I've been with Adobe now for about 4 years. And moving into a more of an education partnership role.
Very, very nice. And Drew, what will you be presenting to us for this episode?
So I'm going to be focusing on what I call Adobe apps on the go, and assuming no prior knowledge, but taking perhaps you've taken a couple of great photos or a couple of short clips on your phone, and how with really, really intuitive and quick functionality, you can use Adobe Express and or Premiere Rush to create a really beautiful short digital story. And I'm just using something that happened last week, actually.
Great.
And Alwyn, tell us, what will you be sharing?
I'm going to be just looking a little bit more closely at the new 3D substance modeling application that was released during Adobe Max, and also a couple of new features within Adobe 3D Sampler.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Drew and Alwyn. We are looking forward to hearing from both of you very soon.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Rathke.
Well, folks, actually, I'm going to just let Jerry and Erin know we're going to skip this next section and go straight into Drew's presentation because we've only got a limited amount of time with Drew before he has to rush off to another meeting. He's a very, very important person. So, Drew, go straight over to what you've got to present. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tim. Look, I'll challenge that important person, but I certainly do have another appointment. So in the spirit of respecting my colleagues' time, I'll just dive straight back in. Just confirming that you can see my screen.
Drew, we can see your screen. It's all good. Go for it.
Okay, thanks, Tim. So I'm sharing two apps. There's my beautiful family, by the way. And I wanted to just give you a bit of context. So just last week, some of you may be familiar with an event called the Colour Run. It's an event in which students run around, in our case, a school oval. They get thoroughly splattered with colour, right? It washes off. It doesn't stain their clothes, thankfully. But what it does do is actually get current selection. Here we go. They raise money for charity. It looks a bit like this, okay? And so we were out there raising money for charity. The students were running around the oval. And of course, when you're capturing beautiful moments like this, it occurs, I'll just grab my phone and take a couple of photos and or videos. But then how do you kind of add a bit of professional polish and shine and messaging around this without necessarily having heaps of time up your sleeve to jump into a full post-production editing suite? It turns out that with particularly Adobe Express and also Premiere Rush, you can do, I would say, 99.9% of the things most people in schools want or need to do directly from the phone. And so that's what I thought I'd walk you through today. And so I'll just backtrack a couple of steps. Just wanted to provide that context. So if I'm here, I've got a couple of photos and a couple of videos. I'm going to show this audience today how quickly you can get something really cool happening that's fit for sharing via school marketing channels, etc. So the first thing I want here is just a cover image to kick off this short social post. It'll probably be about 15 to 20 seconds. So I'll open Adobe Express by tapping away there. There's a huge number of excellent templates to start. I would encourage people to browse through these. These are great starting points for student creativity, particularly when they might be working on a project that has to have that aesthetically pleasing component. I'm just going to press the bottom large plus button there and add, and I'm going to start from my photo library because I've actually taken a couple of photos there and I've got a couple of videos to import. So I'll start from my photo library by tapping that one. I'm going to keep the current selection. I don't need to select more photos. I've got one that I want to use here. And you can see I'm just tapping through and I'm going to add one. Okay. Now you'll see along the bottom, there's a range of different formats, and that's really, really helpful, particularly if you're then planning to share this, for example, on Instagram or so on and so forth. I'm just going to look through my standard options because I want this to be part of a video. And so I'm thinking what would be good here. This eventually, of course, will probably be an Instagram clip. So I'm just going to stay with that one and press done. I can zoom this out if I need to manage it. Now, what I love about this app is it's really intuitive and really quick to explain. Oftentimes people think, I'm going to need an instruction manual or heaps of cues and support. It's just come up here, double tap to text. So I'll just do that. Okay, done. This event was called the Colour Run. So I'm just typing that in like so. I'll press done at the top right. And then I've got some options there to either change the size or the shape. And you can see Adobe's automatically gone ahead and made a color choice. Now that works pretty nicely. That's the house colors for that particular student group. That looks pretty good to me. One thing I'd point out that I was really impressed by is that you have got recommendations. And again, you can go ahead and press those, and the software or the application itself will make a couple of decisions for you. Let's try this one out. I like the other one, so I'm going to go with this one here. But, the idea that you've got recommendations can save you through endless scrolling, right? So that's looking pretty great. I think I'll stay with that for now. That'll be a great starting image. I'll press done. And then I've got my export options here. I can prepare this to export out, and I might just save this image. saved to my camera roll, which will be handy in a moment when I jump on to use this in the context of my Premiere Rush project. So super quick and easy to get something really effective that's the correct dimensions with intelligent matched fonts. So let's bring this into context and add that starting image plus some really, really cool footage that I happen to capture. So blank template, I'm going to press that again. You'll notice a lot of similar app-to-app functionality. So
sorry to interrupt, Drew. We just lost your screen share. Would you mind sharing your screen again? Just seeing.
Yeah, sure. Let me present. Sorry, everyone. It's peering dangerously close into the webcam to get that back on.
There we go. It's coming back now for you.
And that's okay. All right.
All good, mate. Carry on.
Thank you. So we got through the Adobe Express. Now we're on Premiere Rush. I'll tap that to open up. And I was saying just a second ago that plus button at the bottom is what we're going to hit to add some media. We can of course go directly to the take video or photo if we're on the go. But in this case, I've got the material already. I'm going to go ahead and hit camera roll. I can, here's my color run most recently, and here's a couple of clips that are going to be really useful. I'm just going to entitle this color run, give it a project name, and I can sync with Creative Cloud if I like also, which can be really handy if you want to take this project elsewhere. So very, very quickly and easily, we go ahead and see that we've been organized into a time lapse. And I've got a couple of really nice clips here that'll look really, really cool for the students. And I think they'll really enjoy seeing that in the community. But there's a few things that I need to change here, and it's really easy to do this with Premiere Rush. The first thing I want to do is tap that and separate the audio, because I actually don't really want the raw audio that I captured along the way, kids carrying on and yelling. I want to put some nice backing music on there. So I can delete that. Now I've just got the visual material itself. I can do the same again for this one. Double tap, or single tap, excuse me, and separate the audio, which drops it into a separate lane. You can see in green, and I'll press delete. The other thing I can do is I can trim these clips really intuitively. I'm just using my thumb there to scroll it, and you see it scrubs along the top. But if I want to move this to this side, I can do. And so this is actually starting to look a bit more like the order I had in mind. If I want to tease out the timeline, it's really easy. It's just a pinch gesture. But let's watch back what we've got so far. Now that's taking a little longer than I wanted to. So there's a couple of things I can do to tweak that. First thing I might do is get the clip right to where that starts to throw the dust around. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to keep that. I might delete the framing. And so at this point now, I can speed that up if I wanted to. I'll go ahead and press speed.
Sorry, Drew, we just noticed that we've lost your screen share again. So something that's happening.
I think what's happening is I occasionally need to jump in and wake my computer up. Sorry.
There you go.
All right, cool.
It's coming back now.
Back with me? All right.
Yep, you're back on.
Cool. So I'll occasionally tap the trackpad to keep that awake. So at this point, I can double tap this, and I've got these speed controls here. You can see here we can maintain the pitch if that's an issue, or we've got our range speed. And so we can tap this and we can speed this up somewhat. So if we want this to play at normal speed, we can do. That's a little faster now. And we might just up that some more. We can go right up to, well, I mean, up to 400%, I believe. It's pretty powerful. We can add a nice transition. And again, I would do a similar thing here. I would actually probably bump this up so it's a little faster and trim the edges just to get to the really exciting part. So turn that back. And we'll move this along to where we're just seeing the good stuff, as it were, right? That jump is pretty cool. And we can see our options along here for transitions, etc. So under effects, I can go ahead and we can use, like, for example, a dissolve. It gets a simple drag and drop. It sits in the middle now. And so play. And for example, if we were still, I believe this is the case, we're still actually collecting donations and that sort of thing, we could go ahead and with our text and graphics adding, tap this one, add a graphic. And we've got, for example, might have here this title, and I can add that. And again, it's a double tap to add text. We can adjust, please donate now. You might want a website URL, something like that here as a call to action. And we can move that to where it's going to sit most appropriately. So that's actually looking quite nice up there. And now I think the last thing I want to add really quickly is some audio, some music to accompany. And so what I really liked, haven't lost the screen, Tim, am I okay?
You're all good, mate. Keep going.
Great. Awesome. Just about finished. And so I've got some music options here. I can browse. What I really like about this is actually, I think it's a collaboration, I believe with Splice, the audio sample provider. So I can type in a keyword like celebrate or fun, something like that. And let's hear how this one sounds. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And I can go ahead and move that, place it right here and play it back.
So Drew, we're not picking up the audio, unfortunately, but we get the idea. And
yeah, perfect.
Great, isn't it? And
so, we've got our easy manageable clips. We've got a donate now website URL. We might want to put a school logo or a bumper, something similar like that. But then getting it out of the software is super quick and easy. We've got our export settings right here, quality settings. I've found no need to actually modify these because they've been great straight out of the bat. Export, and you can see how quickly Premiere Rush does a great job of just giving you the absolute essential tools you need to get this video into a format suitable for sharing. And you can actually integrate directly with socials, which is really, really handy. It otherwise sits in your camera roll, and then it's just a matter of getting it to the people it needs to in your school to get it out there. And so between Adobe Express and Premiere Rush, everything you need, well, certainly everything I've needed to be able to do with key events promoted through, for example, my program, the Hot House Company, have all been able to be managed in situ on the device, which has been really, really helpful for me. And that's everything I wanted to share.
That's wonderful. We really appreciate the time that you've put into preparing for that. It's always great to see a teacher and to see the way that they're using our software in the classroom. Drew, just before you go, I want to let you know that you are one of the most popular of our presenters at our summit during the school holidays, our September summit, when we're looking at the hits of all the videos that have been watched. We've had over 5,000 teachers now go to that site and have a look at the content that's in there, and you've been one of the most popular presenters from that. So thank you so much for what you did at the summit, and thank you so much for what you've done today. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everyone. See you.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Rathke.
Oops, sorry, I just hit the wrong button at the wrong time and I lost her. Look, Adobe have a resource that now maps the Adobe Education Exchange teaching resources to the Australian curriculum called School Projects and Lesson Ideas with Adobe.
Look up adobe.ly/AC-projects to make the most of this new resource and share it with your colleagues.
Hi, I'm Tacey Trowbridge, head of Adobe's Thought Leadership and Advocacy. Thanks for watching Inject Creativity Live. And if you're excited about creativity, take a listen to the Creative Educator Podcast.
Well, there was quite a focus on Adobe Substance at Max this year, and our last Inject Creativity Live episode, Elwyn Hunt shared part one of a session on Adobe's 3D software initiatives. Elwyn, tell us more about Adobe Substance and what we can look forward to as we're working with Adobe and as Adobe goes full on into the world of 3D design. Over to you. I think you're on mute there, Elwyn. Get you to jump off mute.
Sorry, yeah. It's exciting times in 3D at the moment. When I do school talks and presentations, I talk about being a golden era right now. My background's in visual effects, and there is a lot of demand for people that are learning 3D. But from an Adobe perspective, I see a lot of new industries that are now embracing 3D. So lots and lots of opportunities for students, and I think there's a real awareness that I want to bring to higher education around 3D and the opportunities for students out there. So super excited about that. But what I wanted to do today was just to share my screen there and be able to talk about a little bit about one of the other applications, which was recently announced at Adobe Max, which I talked about in the last episode, which was 3D modeler. And I just want to show a little video there. And what this video does really nicely is shows how you can model something, then bring it into the next application, and just shows that transition just so people understand how it all works. So I'm just going to move to that next slide, which goes like that. And we can see here, this is a really a good image that shows the full range of applications and how they are kind of used. Now, you can see the grouped there, and we've got modeler, we've got sampler, we've got designer. When we look at those applications, they're really about creation, and that can be a 3D model. It can be creating a digital material so that you can take, you can download Adobe Capture on your phone, take a photo, and it will actually digitize that image. So if you've taken a piece of wood, you can actually then it'll digitize it for you, that you can then map onto a 3D model. And then we have Painter, which is what I like to call Photoshop for 3D. And that's taking your 3D model and using layer stacks to be able to then paint directly onto your 3D model. And Stager is really lighting and rendering, dragging and dropping light stages and being able to push a button to hit a render, really taking the complication out of being able to get that final render, which used to be a real hurdle. So if I move to the next one, this is a little video that I want to play through here, and I'm going to just hit spacebar there, and hopefully you can, I'm just going to be quiet for a minute, and you can see this is running through the process.
Just let you know, Elwyn, we're not hearing the music very well, so maybe talk us through what's going on.
Yeah, no problem. It's actually good. So what I wanted to point out here, well, this is both a desktop application and a VR. So you can be working seamlessly between desktop and VR. So it makes it's quite a unique experience. It's very organic. But what I love about looking about the 3D program is just when you look at this, there's only a couple of menus. It's very simple, and you're using very simple functions to be able to create your 3D model. So it's not overcomplicated. It's very organic. You think about modeling, think about it as if it's a piece of clay, and you're pushing, you're pulling, and you're sculpting. And there, from that, you export that to the next application. And here we're looking at Substance Painter. So this is where we're adding our 3D materials, and we're dragging and dropping those materials directly onto the model. We're using masks to be able to create those decals. And it's a very simple process of being able to add those materials. And like I said, you could create your own materials through using your smartphone or downloading an image from the internet. Now we've moved across into Substance 3D Stager here. This is the lighting rendering application. And you can see here on the left-hand side, those presets, which are essentially light stages or light rigs that automatically generate the lighting for us. We're not having to create, these 3D lights. And you can see there, bang, you're able to do a really nice render very, very quickly. So I can't emphasize enough how easy it is to be able to, and I'll just bring up the next, so we're not looking at a blank screen there. I just wanted to actually show the desktop application here as well. And I'll just bring that up. Looking at my desktop. So in the desktop, Creative Cloud desktop, you have access to these programs here. So if you're in all apps, you can go down and you got your different categories. I just want to highlight here, this is where you can actually access all those applications. Now, there's a lot of great links here for learning. There's access to Capture. There's one, that's the one that I was talking about, that you can download on your phone, be able to digitize materials. Once you've created that 3D object, then you're able to even push it across into Arrow, which is our augmented reality application. There's 3D assets, high-end quality assets here. If I just click on that link, that we can then be able to download models or pre-existing models. So if I go into all assets here, you can see here there's there's thousands of models that people can download and be able to add those materials and textures to. So there's also at the top here, almost 10,000 materials. So these are these digital materials that you can literally drag and drop onto those 3D models to be able to then create, pretty complex scenes. Whoops, sorry, Tim.
That's good, mate. We're going to have to wind up because we're just about out of time. But Elwyn, it's, as you said at the start of this presentation, it's a whole new world.
Oh, it's exciting times. Like I see opportunities for students that have any interest in 3D or creation. And I think the notion that it's all very complex in coding and stuff, when you look at 3D, you can see here how easy it is. It's very, very creative in the process. And Adobe are doing a great job of taking a lot of the technical aspects out of it.
Now, Elwyn, in the last episode, you did mention that this is all available for free at the moment for higher education students and teachers, but not yet for K-12. And we're not quite sure exactly when the date will be, but it is coming. And we're going to certainly bring you back onto this show when that announcement becomes official, and then we can really push it out to the K-12 sector. But right now, higher ed have full access to these tools.
That's it.
Thank you so much, Elwyn. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to catching up with you in the new year. All the very best.
Oh, what? I thought it was only February. It's new. What?
That's the way it is. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Tim.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Rathke.
Get rid of Elwyn there. Sorry to abruptly get rid of him. Look, if you're on Facebook and if you're not already a member of the Australasian Adobe Education Community Facebook group, please join via facebook.com/groups/AUSAEL.
Please join us and keep regularly involved with Adobe in Education and the wider community.
We have a newsletter. It's called Adobe in Education Update Australasia, which now has a new look via adobeapacedu.com.
Complete the contact form via adobe.ly/contact-edu-apac if you don't already get a reminder about this publication each month and join the email list.
All right, let's abruptly bring Elwyn back up to the screen. We're going to bring Tim Cosgrove, who's been in the background, and Jerry, who's been helping us as well. Now, Elwyn, any final closing words of wisdom from you?
No, I'm still shocked that you said it's going. It's Christmas. It's the end of the year. I'm still shocked about that.
Next Tuesday. So our next Inject Creativity Live recording session won't be until Wednesday, the 23rd of November at this stage, and will feature a demo by Ali Blackwell and Eden Carey from Western Australia.
Thank you to Erin and Jerry for helping me put this show together, and a special thanks to Adobe Education leader Tim Cosgrove from Canada, who's been monitoring the live online chat, and thanks to those who are with us live at the moment.
You can view past episodes of Inject Creativity Live, as well as a new set of 30-minute Adobe for Education webinars by Dr. Tim Kitchen via the Adobe for Education YouTube channel at adobe.ly/ICL-playlist.
For those watching the recording, we'll see you on our next episode. For those of you who are with us live, please join us for an informal fireside chat via adobe.ly/edu-meet-APAC.
Thanks, everyone.
That's it, folks. All the best. Let's get back to Rob. He's going to say a good farewell to us. All the best, folks. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Inject Creativity Live. For those who are watching live, join us now via adobe.ly/edu-meet-APAC for an informal, non-recorded fireside chat to meet and interact with our presenters and other audience members. During this informal chat, you will be able to complete the feedback form and apply for a professional development certificate. If you are not watching this live, join us live next time. Use this QR code or link to find out about dates and topics. And use this QR code and link to find out about other Adobe in Education professional learning opportunities. On behalf of the Adobe in Education team, keep being creative.